Professor Jeffrey Sachs is with us. Many thanks for speaking to Times Now, Professor Jeffrey Sachs. We've just read about the Supreme Court judgment to the United States invalidating President Trump's imposition of tariffs through his invocation of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. What are the implications of this?
Well, I think that it first demonstrates that Donald Trump was grossly abusing his authority. And the Supreme Court made a very powerful decision. Second, it means that everything that has happened in the past year on trade is null and void. Because everything that Trump did, every threat that he made, every tariff he imposed on India was unconstitutional, period. And so basically, while we don't know all of the practical implications, it essentially voids the agreement that India just reached with the United States. It voids the tariffs that the United States has placed on India. Donald Trump has to learn, if he wants to be president, that he has to follow the law.
Right, and Trump had invoked the IEEPA to impose these penalties on India to the tune of 25% for buying Russian oil. Later, he backtracked on that on the 6th of February, bringing the overall reciprocal tariff down to 18%. Are you saying that even the 18% won't exist anymore, either because of this judgment?
That is my understanding. Frankly, the decision just came down and I'm halfway through it, but I believe that it voids the 18%. I believe that it voids all of Trump's trade policies of the past year. They were declared an egregious grasp for power that he does not have.
So then this is a massive development because it not just impacts India, but all other countries who've been at the receiving end of Trump's tariff impositions. What does it do to leverage that Trump had tried to exercise all over from them? And that's the leverage that many were talking about, diplomatically speaking.
I think it's a big deal. I have been saying for the past year that this policy is illegal. I said it repeatedly. I was not sure that the Supreme Court would have the guts, speaking frankly, to do what it has done. But again, halfway through the ruling, it's a strong ruling. It's not a weak ruling. It's not fine print. It says Trump does not have this authority. This says we need a Congress. The United States has not had a Congress in effect during the past year because the Republican part of the Congress has been pathetic. They have not carried out their responsibilities under our Constitution whatsoever. I don't know whether they will come back to life from this, but Trump cannot just rule by one-person decree, period. And this is the very important point of what's just happened.
But Professor Sachs, let me also ask you whether you think he'll be able to bypass the decision of the Supreme Court. Can he, for instance, invoke other laws? There is the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, the Trade Act of 1974. Can he now use these to circumvent what the Supreme Court has done?
Well, he will probably try to stretch the laws and the authority, but frankly, he's behaved in a completely lawless and irresponsible way. And not only with regard to tariffs, maybe we're going to have a war in a few days, even in the next 48 hours with Iran. If so, this would be a grotesque violation of the Constitution of the United States, which gives the power to declare war solely to the U.S. Congress. So we in the U.S. have been suffering from a leader who has claimed unconstitutional authority. He's claimed it in two areas, one on international economics and the second on war making. This struck down the international economic side. It should be a wake-up call for the others. And I would say for India, what I have been saying for the year, what Trump has been doing has been outrageous and illegal. And today it was declared to be so.
So how do you propose that India approach this from here on? And I'm asking you this because what was agreed between India and US were the terms for an eventual bilateral trade agreement. Were we supposed to wait for the fine print following the negotiations, and what happens to all of that?
As far as I'm concerned, you should rip it up and say, okay, now we can discuss, but there's not much to discuss unless Congress acts or unless Trump tries to grab power in some other way. But given the strength of this Supreme Court ruling, I don't think he's going to get away with that. Oh, I think we're imminently going to be at war. And I've been wondering every day, why don't leaders around the world speak up about this absolute danger to the whole world? You know, people have been scared of Trump. This is the basic point. So everyone says nice things about him, even when he is completely unhinged and outrageous. And we've been discussing this for the past year, this trade policy, which I have said has been illegal and outrageous. And the Supreme Court agreed today. Well, the buildup of military force in the Arabian Peninsula and on the border of Iran is outrageous. It's a complete violation of the U.S. Constitution and of the UN Charter. I wish that in addition to some academic scholars, some world leaders would say, no, you can't do this. We don't want one person deciding the fate of the planet. Now, today, the Supreme Court said that about the tariffs. I wish that the leaders in the United Nations would say the same thing about this impending war with Iran.
But, you know, there's also a question about whether there's any kind of domestic pressure at all that might prompt Trump to reconsider. Where, for instance, are the Democrats? What about those in the Republican camp who are opposed to Trump? And where's the domestic opposition to what should have perhaps been opposed, politically speaking, as well?
I think the implications are likely to be very significant. It is the emperor without clothes. It is somebody claiming powers that he doesn't have, and everybody going along. But now the Supreme Court has said, you don't have the clothes, you don't have the power, you don't have the authority to do this. I hope it's a wake-up call for the rest of the American political class, which frankly has failed us during the past year. And we're at the brink of war, and it's very important that they stop failing us and they stop failing the rest of the world. This has been bullying. Today, the bullying was called out as being illegal, but the bullying vis-a-vis Iran is extremely dangerous and imminent.
Right. And let me also finally ask you on the home front, do you think that Trump might do something a bit adventurous or out of the box, to put it mildly, you know, to try and sabotage what the Supreme Court has done?
He would not get away with it. He would not get away with it. The American people did not sign up to an emperor. They did not. They don't want that. The Supreme Court counts. He cannot subvert the Supreme Court.
Professor Jeffrey Sachs, thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to us here at Times Now, sir.